Hello, everyone. This is Rita Wolfson. I'm so excited to have you here with us on this July afternoon. The year is flying by. We have such a wonderful training for you today on gifting children a healthy relationship with money. I know that all of you who have joined us know the importance of gifting children a healthy relationship with money and having a healthy relationship with money. So let's go ahead and get started. Our guest speaker today is Latoya Steinbrink, and she is a clinical social worker based in Boston, Massachusetts. She's doing some really exciting work that I've asked her to share with you after I finish my part of the presentation. Welcome, Latoya.
Good to be here.
So we'll just start with a few of the most commonly asked questions and some suggestions for you. You can check the chat box for messages. We don't share the slides. We will share the recording on our Facebook page, YouTube channel, and on the website in a day or so. You may type your questions into the question box throughout the presentation, and we'll answer as many as time permits. One very commonly asked question is, are there CEs or certificates of attendance? There are not for our monthly free webinars. However, our certification, as you'll learn later, does include 20 CEUs from National NASW. And the link for any technical issues should be in the chat box. Okay. I do like to start my presentations with our financial social work affirmation because I feel that it captures what this work is about. Just for today, I will love myself enough to face my fears, practice self-acceptance, and embrace hope. I will silence my inner critic, speak my truth, and make peace with myself and with my past. Just for today, I will give myself permission to eliminate toxic people, beliefs, and behaviors from my life and prepare for a better tomorrow by healing my relationship with money and myself today. So we are going to start with a poll. It is my only poll, but Latoya has some for you later in her presentation. So I am launching this poll. How did you learn about money growing up? I thought that would be a good question for a presentation on working with children around financial wellness. Okay. I always tell our guest presenters what a great audience we have, that you participate so much. And we are living up to that reputation. Over 70% of you have voted, taken that poll. And I'll give you another few seconds and I will share with you the results. Okay. So, wow, 78% of you want to take, there you go, 80%. I'm not going to ask for more than that. Okay, more than 80%. I'm going to close it and I am going to share it with you. So, a quarter of us learned the hard way by making mistakes. Well, as long as we learned, that's a really good thing. Almost 20% of you, a fifth of you, didn't learn. And we know this to be very, very, very true and real. And then a lucky 57% of you did learn from your family. So you should all take a moment to thank your families for that, because a lot of families don't talk about money or teach about money. So I'm going to go ahead and close this and hide that poll and get on with this training. So thanks to everybody for participating. I saw this graphic on the FEC here, Financial Educators Council. It just was too perfect not to include it today. Prepare your child for the real world. Teach them about money. And you are going to have a lot of new skills and tools to do just that after this afternoon's training. So we know that no one chooses to have money problems, but most people do, because money is always the elephant in the room. And the problem stems from the fact that we think it's about dollars, cents, debt, math, budgets, and crisis intervention. But the reality is, it's about so much more than all of those pieces. And that's where we come in with financial social work, because we do combine the financial piece, but we combine it with self care, mental health, physical health, because financial stress and trauma and problems, they affect us in every area of our lives, physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically. So financial social work is the intersection of social work, politics, the economy, and gender, economic, and social justice, and all financial inequity. It includes racism, COVID-19, the fact that there's so few pensions, the employment, unemployment situation we now are in this country, unfair and unequitable healthcare costs, uh, food insecurity. All of those pieces are a part of the work that we look at and do. So it's our relationship with money and our relationship with self that's at the core of financial social work. We explore the fundamentals of financial health, the thoughts, feelings, attitudes, beliefs, experiences, and values that drive financial behavior, which we consider to be how we earn, spend, save, share, and borrow. It is heavily psychosocial and interactive. It is a behavioral model, because until and unless behavior changes, nothing changes. And it is based upon the trans theoretical model that we all learn in school. It's interactive, reflective, and strength based, educational, motivational, and supportive, holistic, multidisciplinary, and healing. It is hopeful, helpful, and makes a difference in the lives of individuals and groups. This does capture what financial social work is all about. And you start to really understand what I mean when I say that we go beyond the dollar, cents, debt, math, and crisis intervention of more traditional approaches to financial wellness and financial health. So the process, it looks like this. It's about healing the relationship with money, recognizing and taking ownership of your financial health, and healing your relationship with yourself, which includes self discovery, self care, and self healing. Your relationship with money itself is about so much more than budgeting, banking, saving, and other traditional money management basics, because they can't and they won't and they don't meet clients' needs. And that's because before anyone with this trauma and these problems can cope with the dollar cents budgets and crises, they need to heal their relationship with their money and with themselves. Because of financial trauma, which prevents anyone experiencing this trauma from learning new money management skills, tools, or information. And that's a critical and valuable core concept of my work. Financial health and wellness are essential components of physical, mental, emotional, and social well being. This is a universal truth, which unfortunately is not universally understood. But if you stop and think about it, you will see the connection. So, crisis intervention as the principal method for helping clients with financial issues perpetuates a belief that financial problems are unavoidable and unpredictable, but they are not. They truly are not. It's how we cope with them that needs to be, those skills need to be developed. Financial health cannot, should not, and must not be an afterthought, a specialized area of study, or available to some and not to others. Clients need a hands-on, in-depth, engaging, and relevant framework to improve their relationship with themselves and with their money. They need to know what's in it for me. How will they benefit? So we're just about ready to hand this off to Latoya, but I want you to know that the primary predictor of financial health and wellness absolutely is about an individual's relationship with money and self. So I am so happy to turn this over to Latoya and have her share her wonderful and beautiful information. You good, Latoya?
Yep. Okay. All right, welcome everyone. Today we're going to talk about raising financially free children, and just a little bit about me. Like Rita said, I'm a licensed independent clinical social worker. I've been working with children and adolescents in schools for 15 years, clinically for about 9 years. I'm a big advocate of children. I'm currently working for a voluntary school desegregation program. I work with elementary students and families to help them acclimate to a new school district. And so students from Boston take the bus every day out to various suburbs to attend school. And so I run weekly groups with students to just help them think about how they're feeling, and to kind of make sure that they have a safe space in the building. I've come from a big family. I'm the youngest of 5. I have 13 nieces, nephews, and godchildren, ranging from the ages 3 to 18. So I live and breathe working with children of all ages. And I just love working with them and seeing the growth that happens. So if people want to type in the chat, just kind of what brought them here today and what they're maybe hoping to get out of today, give you a couple of seconds. And so our objectives for today, We're going to learn why it's important to teach children financial literacy. We'll talk about strategies at the different age levels, and then ways to find resources that are financially friendly. So before we do that, we can do a poll. And so what do people think is the optimum age to begin teaching children about money? Give people a couple more seconds.
This is a really good group, Latoya. Look at that, 74% have voted.
Okay. All right, so most of us feel like 4 years old is that's a good age to begin teaching children about money. And we've got 5 years old, 7 years old. Okay, great. So
Latoya, I just wanted to tell you that a lot of people wrote in answers to your question about why they came. They want to teach nieces how to invest, to learn how to teach my nephews, therapists I work with. Oh, that's interesting. With the wealthy, okay. I'm here because I'm a parent. I thought this would be helpful. Okay, we can look at those a little later. Go ahead, Latoya.
I love that. I couldn't see the chat. So I love that.
I know.
I love those. So why should we teach children about finances? I can start with a story about one of my students. One day this school year, she shared about going to the store with $19 and buying snacks for herself and her younger sibling. And she left the store with only $1, and she did not love that feeling, even though she was very happy about the snacks. And so I asked her if she had ever saved up for a really long time to get something bigger that she wanted. And she said she tried to save up for an iPad, but she wasn't able to. So this is really where the work is. Children don't and they won't have the skills unless we gift it to them. And I think what is most confusing for children is that we adults give them money, and they know money's for spending, but beyond that, they don't really know what to do with it. And so what they see is us spending money, but they don't see all of the other things that we're doing with money. So when we're saving or when we're investing or budgeting, those things are not as in your face and as easy to see as the spending part is. And so here's a video just to kind of reinforce that and just something for us to think about.
Millions of Americans have one thing in common: a crippling amount of student debt. As of 2012, Americans owed over $1 trillion in student debt. And as of June 2020, that total surpassed $1.6 trillion.
So it is significant. This is the first time in our nation's history that we've ever held this much in student loan.
One of the most talked about side effects of the student debt crisis is how it's forcing borrowers to delay traditional markers of adulthood. One survey found that 21% of borrowers had delayed getting married, 26% had pushed back having kids, and 36% had put off buying a home, forcing an entire generation of borrowers to question the opportunity cost of going to college. At the same time, advancements in technology, especially automation, is making it harder to earn a living wage without some type of college degree. Today, college graduates earn 80% more than those with just a high school diploma. College is more expensive and more important than ever before. And that dichotomy is putting students in a difficult situation. Do they risk going into crippling debt at the beginning of their adult lives in the hope that their investment turns into a career and financial stability? So what are students to do?
So I just want us to imagine, so that conversation I had mentioned earlier was with a third grade student. So if we could imagine and fast forward that third grader into college, but imagine that she never really learns much more about money other than how to spend it. And she goes off to college, and like many of us in that first week of college, she's walking down the street on her way to a class or a school event, and somebody stops her to talk about opening a credit card. And often this happens on college campuses. It happened to me, it happened to many of my friends. And, you know, it's got that $500 limit. There's, they talk up all of the benefits, that there's cash back or et cetera, et cetera. And it all sounds great. And so if she never learns more than how to spend money, now you've got on top of the debt that she's racking up for just trying to go to college, something that is completely avoidable, and she's racking up credit card debt. So we know that 90% of brain growth happens before age 5. And children are really building 1 million new neural connections per second when they're in those early years. And so this is really the best opportunity for children's brains to develop all those connections that they need to be healthy, capable, successful adults. And so the work really at that early stage is just keeping them, making sure that they're happy and healthy and safe. And so I have another story from this recent school year. So back in about late November, I shared about an essay contest that the school district was having for our annual Martin Luther King Jr. event in January. And so elementary students who were interested could write a 50-word essay or poem on what leadership meant to them. And the prize would be $25. So I shared this with my 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade groups who were old enough to be able to write something like this on their own. And each grade level responded a bit differently, but I was most curious about how my 4th graders responded. So you can just quickly type in the chat 1 or 2 words. How do you think they responded? What was their response? Do we have what's in the chat?
Let me
Rita?
see. Let me see. It's hard. Let's see. I'm not so good at this because Olga usually does it. Oh, they wanted you to repeat the question.
Oh, so the 3rd, 4th, 5th graders were given the opportunity to write a 50-word essay or poem on what leadership meant to them with a $25 prize. And so I'm just curious if people have a guess at what the response was of the 4th grade.
We do have some guesses. Someone said that they thought that the $25 was not enough money. It wasn't worth it. Someone said they thought they would enjoy spending the winnings. And somebody said that they wanted to be the winner. Somebody said they figured that the fourth graders probably wanted to participate.
Yep. So I had third graders that were really excited. I had fifth graders that were into it. And my fourth grade group, I had one student pipe up and say he had $120 at home and $25 was nothing. And so as we know, when one kid shares something, others feel the need to share something similar. And so now I've got multiple kids saying how much money they already have. And then there was not much excitement around this $25 prize. And so I can reflect back on that moment. And I think what's evident is kids learn that money actually does come from trees. They get it for special occasions without having to work for it. Their money grows without them having to work for it. They don't have many responsibilities, if at all. And so they don't have to save or spend on things that they need. And they can hold on to that money as long as they feel like, until they see something that they want. And then when they run out of money, eventually they get more. And so, of course, some of them weren't that impressed by this $25 prize, and they didn't feel the need to work for it and do an essay just to earn something.
Latoya, somebody said that they thought the children would say that leadership is being rich. I thought that was good.
Yeah.
Somebody thought that the kids might think $25 is a lot of money, but apparently they didn't.
Not that group. That was very interesting response from that group. And so where do we go from here? So there's no perfect order on how to do this, but much like when you take ownership over your own finances, by deciding to use the different tools and develop a plan that works for you, you can decide to start working on this with your children or with children that you work with. And so there will be a lot of different ideas that will be shared today, but it's important to keep in mind to choose one thing you want to do really well and just start there. And then when that becomes an ingrained habit, you can add in another thing that you want to work on. And so one of the sayings that I hold on to from working with traumatized populations is do for, do with, cheer on. And I think this is something that we can apply that to teaching children about finances. And so before we get into it, I've got another poll. So which of the following would you most want your child or your students to know about money? Got about 60%. Give people a couple more seconds. Okay, I'm gonna close the poll and can share the results. So we can see the results are spread out. And so I think whatever your answer was, that's a good place to start.
I should have put, you only have 5 choices, but I should have put all of the above.
Yeah. Okay, so from about birth to around age 8, that's kind of the time that you want to be doing with. And so, I mean, you can start a 529 or a Roth IRA account. If you have the means, you can always do both. You can research and figure out which one is the best fit for you and your family. And really the biggest difference is that 529 plans are specifically for educational purposes so that a child can use it for college expenses. Any monetary gifts that a young child is getting can go into the bank account. They're not really understanding money yet, so might as well save it. At age 4 and under, you can really just start with the basics, which is just labeling everything. You can, when you go to the bank or store, narrate what you're doing and verbally label things. You don't want to overthink it. It's as simple as, here's the ATM machine. I have to put my card in and type in my code so I can take money out of my bank account. Here's my receipt saying how much money I took out and how much I have left in the account. The expectation is not for them to understand these things right away, but with the repetition, as their brains take in all of this language and build the capacity for them to use it, eventually they'll start to understand it and use it themselves. You want to use that same concept in the grocery store or in any store. And you can even have them hand over the money to the cashier and prompt them to wait for the change and the receipt. You can use pictures alongside the words on a grocery list so they can help pick up groceries. And you can label things around the house with physical labels so that they start to connect the words with the actual objects. You can also start to label things as a need versus a want. And at this age, everything might feel like a need. So reading books and talking about characters is a good way to help children learn the difference. A good book for this is Just Shopping with Mom by Mercer Meyer. And so in that book, one of the children is upset when they can't get what they want in the store. And so when you read a page, you can ask what's going on. Did the child really need that candy or did they want it, right? So just helping them to see the difference. You also want to think about using manipulatives. And so anything that a child can hold in their hand and play with, it's going to help them learn. And it can help them to start conversations about budgeting. And so this is good for role-playing activities. You can sit down for lunch and pay for the lunch. And that'll help them start to connect that things cost money. And you can get play money for pretty cheap in a lot of in dollar stores. If you want to splurge, you can get a cash register as well, but it's not completely necessary. If you're crafty, you can always make these things. And so piggy banks are the original tool that children use. And it just provides another tangible way to think about money. It's a tangible place to store the money. And then once it's full, you can count it. You can put it in the child's bank account. Even better, if you can find a clear piggy bank, then the child can also see the money accumulate along with like hearing it and feeling it. And so once you start using a piggy bank to save, you can allow your child to buy small things when there's a little bit in the bank and bigger things when they've saved a lot. and that'll help them start to connect that a little bit in the bank can buy a small treat, but having a bit more patience and waiting until you have a lot more can get you something really special. So at age 5, kids are starting to go to school, to formal school. And 5-year-olds like to copy and repeat stories and poems and songs. You can have them practice counting and sorting and making sets with the money that they have. And when they separate the money into those piles, you can ask them, how many quarters do you have? How many dimes? How many nickels? YouTube is a great resource to search for just simple songs. So a simple search for kids money song will get you a bunch of results. You can also make your own memory game. So just print like a sheet of pictures of different coins and bills and cut them out to the same size and just have a simple game you can play anytime. And that'll help kids develop their skill to match the coins and bills. And when the game feels like it's getting easy for them, you can always print the front and back sides of the coins and bills and have them match the front and back. And so for the coins, you want to make them close to the actual size. And so here is a short clip of this song. So just take note of the repetition, and children can learn these songs pretty easily because it just repeats over and over to allow them to take that information in.
Penny, nickel, dime, quarter, let's learn. Penny, nickel, dime, quarter, let's learn. Money, money, money in my pocket. Money, money, I know how to count it. Money, money, money in my pocket. Money, money, I know how to count it. What's it worth? How much is a penny? 1 cent. How much is a nickel? 5 cents. How much is a dime? 10 cents. How much is a quarter? 25 cents. How much is a penny? 1 cent. How much is a nickel? 5 cents. How much is a dime? 10 cents. How much is a quarter? 25 cents.
Okay, so like I said, lots of repetition. And once it's to a tune, it's a lot more fun. And so kids are going to be very into things like that. And that was one of the songs that came up with Kids Money Song when I searched that on YouTube. And so at age 6, we're thinking about the 3 R's, what they call the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic. And so you really want to continue with any strategies that you've already been implementing. And so 6-year-olds are able to do basic computation with money. So they may need to use a calculator for help, but you can talk more about the value of each coin and have them practice their skip counting with nickels and dimes. And you can add in simple household chores and pay them for the chores to help them add it and help them add that money up. So for instance, if you're giving them $5, you can break it up into bills and coins so that they can get the practice of adding the money up. And you can help them as much as they need that. 6-year-olds are learning in school to write short stories about their experiences. So you can have them start with by drawing a picture and then practice their writing about a trip to the store or to the bank and what happened. So they're using those early phonemic skills. So spelling may not be perfect, and that's okay. You don't want to stress about that. It's just getting the story down. They're very sensitive at this age to criticism. So if you're stressing about things being perfect, so will they. Classrooms use word walls. So that's something that you can use at home on a smaller version with a poster board, where you have the sight words that they're learning at school, but you can also include words that are age appropriate and relevant to kind of what you want them to be learning about at home. And so in regards to finances, you can start with bank, store, money, those words that may show up in their stories more frequently. At age 7, so 7-year-olds are able to do more concrete manipulation and computation of money and time. And they can also sit for longer periods. So this is a good age to have them sit in and add their thoughts to family meetings if you have those. You can have them practice setting short-term goals and have them decide on something they want and help them make that plan of how they'll save up for it, and then have them follow through on the plan. And so using visuals at home to help them as they save will help them see that they're getting closer to their goal. And so you can also create family goals that are longer term, and to help them with those longer term goals, you can build in smaller rewards throughout the process. So for instance, if you get to 1/4 of your family goal, then you can find a free or a low cost reward to celebrate that as a family. So that might be a special movie night where you would just have the child pick out a movie from the streaming service that you're already using, or doing a family camp night in the backyard and making s'mores, or a family dance party. So finding cheap or free ways to celebrate your way to the goal is going to help keep them invested. 7-year-olds are also learning about fractions. They're starting to learn about fractions. And so you can start to talk to them about those simple fractions of a quarter being 1/4 of a dollar. 8-year-olds are really getting into fractions more and getting more comfortable with kind of the different math computations and operations. And so if they get money for chores or birthdays or holidays, you can have them practice those fractions with the money that they get. You can say half can go towards savings and the other half can go towards something that they want or something that we need. And if you have more pots of money in your family, that's even better. So half, then you can split the money into thirds or fourths and have a portion go to charity or whatever other things that your family does specifically. The idea is really just getting them to split things into equal groups. And so here's a short video of a mom having her children kind of use money and just take note of what she's doing to facilitate that process.
Okay, Dina, what would you like to pay for first? For the chicken? Okay, let's see how it would cost. What number is it? So you have to give mommy 2 coins, please. 1. This teaches her to read the numerals. It also teaches her amounts. And 2, thank you very much. Okay, you can keep your chicken. Let's go to Alvin. Alvin, what would you like to pay for first from your little shopping cart? Yeah. Book. Oh, let's see. How much does it cost? Can you read it for mom? 3,000 and 452. Ooh. Okay, so let's go to our bank. Here's your money. Can you find me 3,000. So we start with our thousands. So he has to give me 3,000s. Thousands are here again. 1,000.
I have 2,000.
Okay, so you have 2,000.
3. 3,000.
3,000. Okay, what comes next on our number? 3,000.
400.
400. How are you going to give mommy? We already gave mommy 3,000. So what we do is we lay it out like this. 1,000. There's no 400? Okay, how do we make 4? What plus what makes 4? Do you remember?
Yeah.
2 plus 2 makes 4. And if we're doing hundreds, you can give mommy
Yeah. 200.
okay, 200 plus
200.
yes, 200 plus 200 makes 400. We're learning to count by tens and by hundreds lately. So this is good practice. We don't have 400, but we can have 200 plus 200 makes 400. So far we have 3,000, 400. What's our next number? 50, 5 tens. Ooh, you have a 50 right there. And 50. And what's our units?
2.
Getting his coin. Our units are usually coins too. Can you tell mommy everything you paid?
3,452.
Does it match this number?
Yeah.
3,452?
Yeah.
Wow, that's an
Okay, so what we noticed in that video, so that mom she scaffolded the activity to fit the ages of each of the children. She had everything labeled so the kids could refer back to it and check that they handed her the correct amount. She was spreading the money out so it was easier to see at the end. There was a lot of repetition throughout the older child working through the more complex number. And she helped him when he got stuck on how to create the 400. And her tone of voice, it stayed positive and steady, even when he stumbled a bit. And that helped him to kind of keep his confidence so that he could complete the task. And so that video was just over 3 minutes. And so that's a good reminder that this doesn't have to take up all of your time as long as you're intentional about what you're doing. And so once the younger child is a bit older, the two children really can do this activity easily together, with the older child coaching and reinforcing his own skills by teaching his sister. And so there's all sorts of children's books having to do with money. Any age really is a good time to start reading books to children. And what you'll find is when they start school that there's a big push for them to read 20 minutes a night. And that's always a good idea, even before they start formal school. And so recorded read alouds really increased throughout the pandemic so that kids could access books despite everything being shut down. And so you'll find a lot of books online being read for free. And you can find those on YouTube. And that's a good way to save your money as a parent, as well as preview books before you buy them to ensure that you and your child like it before you actually pay for it. And so as things open back up from the pandemic, you can also utilize the library, but there's also library apps like Libby and Overdrive, where you can take out library books virtually. And after a few days, it'll electronically take the library book back to allow somebody else to borrow it. And just this is a few titles that will be in the handout with links to somebody reading them that you can think about when kind of thinking about books about money. Ages 9 to 14 is that stage where you want to do with, and this is a good opportunity to involve children in your bargain shopping strategies. If you're a strong bargain shopper, you can kind of continue to set financial goals as a family. You can think about low cost or no cost businesses that they might be interested in doing. And in most places around age 14, kids can get summer jobs. And you can have them split those money into different pots. So if you are, again, if you are a couponer, you can have them sit with you and you can show them your process. You can look at sales paper to decide what groceries you'll be buying for the week, and just talk about how you bargain shop. You're taking trips together to the bank, and you are kind of discussing investing with them and walking them through maybe what your process is to decide what things you invest in. And so 9-year-olds are beginning to learn about decimals, and that's going to help them kind of connect that more to dollars and cents. And so before age 9, kids are really learning to read. And it's around age 9 that kids are at that beginning stage of reading to learn. And so they read frequently. They're beginning to enjoy books a lot more because their reading skills are coming more naturally. And they often read with the goal of learning about something that they're interested in. And so it's a good age to find something that they're interested in when it comes to finances, and find a book for them to read and discuss with you. And so 9-year-olds like working in groups, but they're also very competitive. So the first book of the Lemonade War series is about 2 friends starting competing lemonade stands. So lots of conversation can be had around that book. You've also got a picture book, how the second grade got $8,205.50. And picture books are always good. They're shorter and they've got pictures, but it's always good for a quick discussion. And this particular book discusses profits and losses. And so it's a good way to introduce that language and hear from your child maybe what kinds of businesses they would be interested in starting. And then you've got something a little bit different. That's a book like Make Your Own Money. That's broken down into different sections and has worksheets and things in there. So 10-year-olds are doing more complex math and doing a lot of word problems. And so you can get really creative in the games that you make up as a family. And they can take on more active roles in the grocery shopping. And so just a few more things for this age group. So green light is a debit card for kids. There's no age requirement. I'd say this is a good age to introduce something like this because it's using money in a non-tangible way, and those earlier ages, you really want them to be able to touch it and feel it and see it. And so with the green light, you can give them weekly allowance, and they can save or invest in fractional shares. And there's other debit card apps out there for kids, and you could just do your research to find one that will work best. Greenlight is more of one of the well-known ones. This age group is also a good time to introduce Monopoly if you haven't yet, because it's a game that takes a while and requires sustained attention. And so you can also discuss strategy as you play the game to help them start to connect that just having money is not enough, that you need to know what you're doing with it and be able to think ahead and make plans and be flexible when those plans don't work, and just kind of make adjustments. We've got the ages 11 to 14. So around this time, kids are thinking more in concrete ways, but they're starting to begin to grasp abstract and symbolic concepts. So that's a good time to talk about investment, because even though that money is yours, it's kind of not. It can grow and decrease kind of day to day. And so it's a good time to talk about this. And although kids are typically focused on the present, around this time, they're starting to understand that what they do now can have long-term effects on them. So just bring that back to finances, and by now they know what debt means, but extend their learning to understand that our habits can lead to more or less debt in the future.
We're coming up on the hour, so I want you to make sure to get through all your information now.
Okay, I'm going to speed through the rest. So this is also a good time to, as kids start to want to spend more time with friends, to introduce the idea of friendships and money. And so ages 15 to 18 is that time where you cheer on. So kids maybe taking more ownership of their bank account or their child Roth account if they have one. And you want to just consider that they're starting to see gray areas instead of black and white. So you can introduce concepts like good debt versus bad debt. And kind of continue those conversations about friendships and money. You can share your own stories of uncomfortable things that have happened, or give them real world issues that come up and ask them how they'd approach solving that issue. And so just my own short, quick story. My parents are good tippers. I saw that growing up. They never explicitly taught my siblings and I to tip well, but kids see what you're doing and they learn from that. And as a teenager, I can recall going out to eat with friends, and the bill comes and some of the group members are okay leaving no tip or a very small tip. And so when that happened to me, I was the one that pulled out extra money out of embarrassment to make sure that the server got a good tip. And that's how I learned to not go out and eat with everyone. But this is a good reminder that kind of all of those values that you've instilled in them up to this point really start to kick in, because now they're exploring the world on their own. And what you've taught them about how to be in the world, they're actually having to use in real time. And so we can do one last poll. So where do you think children should learn about money? You can choose more than, I think you can choose more than one on this.
Right. Okay, I think you need to close that out now.
Okay. right? So all of these places are great resources of where they can be learning about money. And so my last thought is to just play, that no matter what age, always remember to play. The games can get more complex, but we can always be learning through play. So there's different online things that you can use. There's Kahoot, there's Quizzes, and then Jeopardy Labs has all three of these sites have games that people have created that you can just search up and use, or you can sign up for accounts and make your own games. And that is it.
Okay, Latoya, I'm going to go ahead and take it back and finish up everyone. So before we do some Q&A, and I know that it's past 3 o'clock and some of you have to leave, but we will do some Q&A in a moment. I wanted to invite all of you to next month's free webinar, Military Families Transitioning to Civilian Life, the Costs and Challenges. And September will be Social Workers and Money. We need to talk about it. And I wanted you all to be sure and download our ebook. It's our newest one from about 2 months ago, Leaders in Financial Behavioral Health. And I wanted you all to know that we do have a financial social work certification. Latoya is a graduate of the certification. She is a certified financial social worker. It is a self-study and self-paced program. Our students have 2 months to complete it. It includes all the materials plus the final exam. And it also includes our financial social work professional network. We meet once a month on Zoom and get to know each other and the kinds of work that different people are doing with financial social work. And the certification also includes 20 CEUs. Finally, please remember that clients overwhelmed by financial problems, stress, anxiety, and trauma they didn't know how to prevent and have no idea how to fix are unable to learn, improve, or practice new money skills. And that is where financial social work comes in. So we'll take a few questions at this point. Eric will share them with us. And we do have a handout for you in the handout section that you can click on and download. It has wonderful resources that Latoya put together for everyone. So, Eric, do you have some questions for us?
Sure. So we did get some great feedback in here, just some comments about the webinar being excellent. But here's a good question. When would you discuss with children the cost of higher education?
That's a good question. I mean, I think as they are learning about money, you know, how money ties into everything, I think kids really start to think about college around 5th grade. They're really starting to be a bit more curious about that. I did have a 5th grader this year ask her teacher how you know about a certain college, and the teacher challenged her to kind of do the research. And so she was interested enough to kind of look into what it would take to get scholarships and what it would take, what each of these schools that she was looking at required for entry. So that's a good time to talk about kind of those things and, you know, how we earn scholarships. And I think kids doing activities, got a couple of students that do track pretty seriously. They're junior Olympians. And so when they win these competitions, they're getting money towards college, Right. So anytime they're involved in any of these activities, that's a good entry point to bring that up.
I'd like to share with everyone that when my grandchildren were born, I bought them each a piggy bank, and I wrote on the piggy bank college. And they pretty quickly, I'm talking about 2, 3 years old, and we would put in all the loose change. And they pretty quickly learned the word college, learned what it was about, and that we were theoretically saving the money needed to go to college. So I thought I would share that.
That's great.
Yeah, that's great. Just we have more feedback. Everybody is very excited and thankful for the presentation. There will be a copy. There's a question here. Will they be able to get a copy? Yes, we will be sending out a recording. Here's a question. What is skip counting?
So that's when students learn how to count by twos. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, they're counting 2, 4, 6, 8, or 5, 10, 15, 20. And so you can be practicing that with them at home.
Okay, that's great. Just got some feedback in here. This one says, teach them to count back change. One, they'll know what to expect when buying, but also for future jobs. Cannot believe how many cannot do this skill. It's a 9 to 12-year-old skill.
And it's a big problem. It's an absolute big problem in most stores. It's true. That's a good one.
Let's see here. Can you show the second to last slide again? It was profound. Rita, I think that might have been on yours, possibly.
Me?
Rita?
Yeah, the second to last slide.
Oh,
right there.
Yes. That would be it. And that is something that I came up with over the past year because it is the reality. So I've been doing all of this work, I didn't mention, for almost 25 years. And as I look at it and try to understand why this is so difficult, it really grew clear to me that when you're so overwhelmed by the stress, anxiety, and trauma of money that you didn't know, and that's the problem. That was the question that you asked, Latoya. When should we be teaching it, and who should be teaching it? And we could do a whole webinar on the fact that some parents think the schools should be teaching it. The schools think the parents should be teaching it. Meanwhile, no one is teaching it, and we continue to raise generation after financially illiterate children. So I'm glad someone appreciated that and wanted to see it again. So we have to go beyond the dollar cents, debt, budgets, and crisis intervention to improve the relationship with money, the relationship with self, so that we can help clients to learn, improve, and practice new money skills. So Latoya's presentation was so perfect because she told us how to do that from the start, from the very early age. So that was a long answer to probably a short question. One more question, if you have it.
Yeah, we actually have more coming in, but let me see. We'll pick one of these. Let's see. Does the increased use of digital payments cause problems with learning about money?
I think so. I think it makes it less tangible, like I spoke about, and so that's why it's important in those early stages to really get them feeling that money and seeing it, and that'll help them connect it to that digital kind of space as they get older, so that they know, so that they can understand really what's there, you know.
In financial social work, we call that the money disconnect, because when we don't see the money, we don't touch it, don't see it, and it enables us to avoid it, not think about it, and disconnect from it. And it's a great question, and it's another big problem because we don't think of it in a tangible way. And if we avoid it and ignore it, the debt grows, and it does become very stress and anxiety producing. So I guess with that question, we will finish up for this month. I know that many of you have said how terrific Latoya's presentation was. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Latoya. That's wonderful information. I hope you'll all grab that beautiful handout that she made. Lots of good information to use personally or professionally. And we hope to see you back here next month for our next monthly free webinar. So stay well, everyone, and have a beautiful rest of the day. Bye now.